Happy Monday, everybody. Hopefully you're having a great day. Today we're going to be talking about life in God, one step at a time. There was a time where two of my friends and I, we went on this hike out where I used to live, out in the lower desert over by Joshua Tree National Monument. I'm sure many of you know where that's at or familiar with it. And it was during a time where we were going from winter to spring, but out there in the desert, you don't really have a spring. You go from winter to summer. You're lucky if you have a spring. You might have some leaves fall, but then boom, it goes right into summer. So it's cold and it gets hot. So on this trip we were doing, on this hike, I'd rather say, we were very careful on the steps we were taking. We were, instead of running or going at a fast pace, we're going at a really medium pace, watching our steps, watching our pace, so we can keep an eye around our surroundings, what's on the side of us and what's ahead of us, because we didn't want to have any surprises or get any visits from rattlesnakes. There's a lot out there because of how close winter and summer was. There were some snakes that could still be hibernating and some that could be awake, so we were very careful. Well, once we got up to the three quarters of our destination, up on this place called, if I remember correctly, it's called Pikes Canyon, we were excited because we can see the top. So we just took off, man. We just launched, just running. But in order to get to the top, we had to jump on rocks and leap from one boulder to another boulder, then leap back to the ground, and leap. We were doing all these leaping. Well, I was in between both of my friends, and I leaped from one rock into another, and as I was about to leap off the second one, my friend Paul was like, "Jesse, stop, don't move, just freeze." And I'm like, okay. I'm like, "Why?" He's all, "Just shut up, don't move." Well, eventually he told me to walk backwards off that boulder. Well, lo and behold, kind of find out what he saw was a rattlesnake that was underneath this part where there was shade. But thankfully, it was a baby rattlesnake, so thankfully the snake was asleep. Now, the scary thing about this is if the snake was awake and I would have leaped and landed, as soon as I landed, it would attack me, struck me. And if you know anything about baby rattlesnakes, they can't control the venom, so they release it all, and that's definitely the end game for everybody. So I was grateful that I didn't take that last leap. And the reason I'm saying this is because in life, it's the same way. We need to be careful in the steps we take. We need to be careful in the leaps we take. Are we being guided by ourselves, by others, or are we being led and guided by God? Are we placing our faith in God when we take those steps and leaps? Now, when we look at the definition of step, it says this: a move, act, or proceeding as towards some end or in the general course of some action. Leap is defined to move or act quickly or suddenly. Now, in everyone's life, taking these steps, or sometimes leaps, sometimes those steps and leaps go backwards, sometimes they move forwards, and sometimes it's just a linear charge, but there's still steps, it's still baby steps, it's a process, it's progress, I mean. Now, within the Christian culture and Christianity, we use these terms, take that step of faith, taking a leap of faith. Now, why do we say this? Now, what does that mean to us as children of God? It means this. It means that we are relying on God and trusting in Him with every step we need to take in our lives. That's what it means. Now, Proverbs 16:9 tells us this: we can make our plans, but the Lord determines our steps. And that is so very true. When my wife Julie and I met or re-met, we already had known each other for a long time. We knew that without a doubt that we were meant to be together. We knew that this was what God wanted. He brought us together. There's no doubt in our mind, there's no doubt in our heart or soul. There was a challenge though, and that challenge was that she lived in Oregon and I lived here in California, so we didn't really know what that was going to look like, how it was going to come to pass, how it was going to work, or if it was even possible. So we started praying and fasting and seeking God about this. Well, by that time, or even before that, I already had been praying and thinking about, relocating, moving to Nashville, and continuing my drumming career out there. And then her and I started praying, so we're looking at other options. I had opportunities, maybe in Seattle and the Portland, Oregon area, even Orange County. So we were praying about, okay, God, where do you want us to go? Well, I was actually on a flight to go see her at Oregon, and I was at a layover, and I got a phone call from one of my best friends, Pastor David Carrera. And in that phone call, he asked me to pray about being the worship director for Valley Baptist Espanol. So at that point, Julie and I continued to seek God and sought after Him to see, where do you want us to go? Is this what you want? What direction do you want us going? And lo and behold, as God was opening doors here in Bakersfield, the other doors were closing. And the doors that were open just seemed to not be a fit. Nashville still seemed really great, but God just kept on pointing us here. Just the desire to stay here was obviously what God wanted. So to make a long story short, this is why we're still here, serving God for this season in our life. But for me, this change was a step of faith. For her, it was a leap of faith because it was a leap into the unknown. She left a very familiar place that she's lived at for a long time and a very comfortable life to come out here to Bakersfield to not only marry me, but to be part of God's plan. But here's the thing, and here's the reality of life. When we take that step of faith, that vision and that dream won't immediately be there when we get there, okay? It's rare, okay? It's a rare thing, and it's rare for things to immediately unfold before your eyes. So what happens when we realize that things are not what we thought they would be or what they would look like? Well, for some people, or include all of us, include myself, we would get disappointed, we would get discouraged, we get depressed. We begin to question God, our faith in God would weaken, and we get to this place of, how do we do that? Well, if you're in that place, or you get to that place, here are 4 things to share with you to hopefully encourage you. First of all, know the truth about the process of life. Know how life works. And the truth within each step, within each step could have more than just one part. Step 1 could have part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, or A, B, C, D before you get to the second step. So be aware that each step will have multiple parts in it. We need to know that, be prepared. With God, sometimes we don't actually see the steps. We don't see them. But we need to be rest assured and be at peace knowing that God has He has the steps planned for us. He has purpose for us. And there's a process going on behind that purpose. As He's working behind the scenes and making moves, God is working our lives, preparing us for that next season, okay? So God is doing everything He can to prepare us and to equip us for where He wants to go in that next step. The third thing to think about here, is that God does His part, but we must do our part also, okay? Waiting itself is a verb. We're to seek the Lord, okay? Seek Him while we're waiting. Seek the Lord for what He wants us to do as we're waiting, as we're in that valley, as we're in that point where we feel like we're not moving. As God is working behind the scenes, let's continue to seek Him and know Him. Because sometimes we're the ones that are holding our steps back, and that's scary. Sometimes we're the ones trying to make things happen. We're trying to get ahead of God. And when we do that, not only do I push ourselves backwards, but we can also push ourselves outside of God's plan for us altogether. And that's not a place you want to be, my friends. And the fourth thing to think about, remember, is there's no need to worry. Why? Psalms 37:23 tells us this: the Lord directs the steps of the godly. He does. If you're a child of God, you're godly. He will direct your steps. Not only that, He delights in every detail of their lives. He delights in every detail of your life. So allow Him to direct your steps. Trust Him. Have faith in Him, believe in Him. Even if it's just that mustard seed size faith, hold on to it and trust God for that outcome, because you will get the outcome because it's His outcome, not our outcome. Now, for some of you right now, maybe you're in that place where you've taken that step of faith or that leap, but things don't look like what they thought you would look like. Maybe there's some of you are in that place where you want to take that step and leap of faith, but you haven't done it yet for one reason or another. But in either way, in either cause, continue trusting God. Continue believing Him, knowing that He's going to work all things out, and He will build that bridge for you. He will lay out that bridge for you to get you from point A, point B, to point C, to point D. And I tell you this because God sees you. He knows you. His plans for you, for myself, they're all good. They're amazing. His plans are great for all of us, my friends. All you have to do is stay in stride and abide. Hopefully this encourages you. Hopefully it challenges and motivates some of you to take that step and to take that leap. Some of you probably already did, and hopefully this helps you through this process of waiting as you're waiting for things to unfold. Don't give up. Keep pressing on, my friends. Well, you all have a great week, and we'll see you guys later, all right? God bless.